Andrei, thanks for coming on the podcast. We always start off with a brief introduction of yourself and the business that you're in, and then we'll take it from there.
It's great to be here. Thanks a lot for having me. So I'm Andrei. I'm one of the founders of Dexory, and Dexory is a technology company. It's a business providing technology for the supply chain and for the logistics industry.
Perfect. And before we get into a bit more detail on what the business does today, do you want to take us on a quick tour of the career before starting the business?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a fair amount of things. I've been building this company with my co-founders for quite some time, so I feel I can breeze through some of the stuff I've done before, and spend a bit of time on the early years of building Dexory. So my background is technical. I've got a degree in robotics, in electronics and robotics, control systems. After university, I did a master's in motorsports. So big passion for the fast world of car racing, but very focused on the engineering side. So I've always loved high performance engineering. Um, I found it um, I found it fascinating as I was growing up, and I kind of fell in love with the engineering side of things as I went through my life and as I went through my career. So my first job out of uni, out of my master's, was working in Formula One. I was trackside. I was doing control systems, so systems engineering. That was a lot of fun. As you can imagine,
Yeah.
it was almost the perfect combination of high performance engineering, of data analytics, of understanding how to transform information into insights and make those split second decisions that at the end of the day make you faster and make you get ahead of competition. So I would say probably that's what also was the inception of the concept that we have here at Dexory, where we use autonomous robots to collect information, to collect data from warehouses, from the logistics for the logistics industry, and we transform this into insights, and we give businesses the opportunity to run their operations with the ultimate perfect efficiency. So going to that 100% efficiency, eliminating any kind of operational errors. But before I go there, before we dive into the details of what we do now, probably worth telling you a little bit about the background and the concept behind what we do today at Dexory. So the foundation was always revolving around using autonomous robots to be able to collect information from offline environments, so from public spaces, from retail environments, from airports, and these large areas. We've been building this company, so we're three co-founders, myself, Juana, and Adrian. We've been building this company for quite some time now, and it's always been designed as a full stack company. So we looked at what technology is out there. We looked at what are the options and the opportunities, and we always believed that if you build a full stack business, you have this ability to control the direction in which you want to take development. You have, more importantly, the ability to control how you can best answer the customer's problems. So I think it's very important when you create a company is to start with the problem you're solving for the customers. In our case, was the whole concept of having this end-to-end visibility across logistics operations. So you start with that in mind, and then you look at how can we create the best solution, the best technology to answer those problems. So that's why we wanted to build a full stack business, because it gave us the opportunity to create the ideal form factor for solving this problem, which is the world's tallest autonomous robot. So we're sitting at 14 meters tall right now. Again, sort of like the platform needs to be fully autonomous, so you can navigate these large environments. We're talking million square feet or bigger, and scan a lot of information on a continuous basis. but also very importantly, understand what customers want, because acquiring the data is only a part of solving the problem. The most important bit is how do you transform that into insights, and how do you present this information in a way where people say, oh, this is amazing. Like, I know exactly what I need to do. I know the actions that I need to take, and I can go and perform these actions, and then my operation will become better.
I want to go. Let's go a little bit. So the starting the business. So I feel like there's a little bit of a. You go from like the Formula One to then this. Is that through? Who sort of spots this that it's needed in the supply chain? Is that one of your co-founders, or is that yourself? And then and how does that come about? And how do you start to realize that this is something that the market needs?
So I think this was very much this was very much a market pull, the direction and the strategy that we have now. So like I was mentioning at the beginning, we had the idea and the concept of using robots to collect data, then create a platform, a software platform, which is our digital twin platform, that transforms this data into insights. We didn't start with a logistics application in the first place, because warehouses are really big spaces, they're really complex environments, they're very dynamic. We started with something smaller. We started looking at retail stores. This was 6-7 years ago. And then it was actually during the pandemic, so during 2021, where people from the industry came to us saying, hey, look, we really like the way the technology looks. We've seen that some of our partners or some of their customers were using this. Could we apply the same concepts? Could we apply this technology of using robots, collecting data, having digital twins of our warehouses? So it wasn't a big aha moment where we were just sort of like getting together and we thought, oh, this is the technology, this is the industry, this is the application. It was very much that continuous engagement with the market, continuous conversation with the customers, and deep understanding of how we can use this technology to solve their problem.
Yeah, that's like a conversation that's come up so many times on this podcast. Is you start off with in one place, like going in one direction, and then you actually, the more you speak to customers, the more you get an understanding of what they actually need, and then you can start to provide that, and then that becomes like the main part of the business. Do you, so when COVID comes, you get these inquiries about using it in warehouses. Do you still stick on the retail side, or do you realize this is actually the way to go? And like it's like a gradual cut off, or you might still do the retail as well. But at what point do you realize that like we should go all in on like the supply chain of side of things?
So the way we approached it, we started exploring the market. We created the initial MVPs, the very rough concepts of how this could look like for logistics. But when we decided to go in this industry direction, we had a very hard pivot. We said, okay, we're doing this, and this is the new direction for the company. So we weren't trying to do everything, and we weren't trying to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Ending as a small team, you only have so much resource available. So you have to be very committed, and you have to have that right level of conviction to say, we're going to give it everything we have. And this is the direction in which we feel this technology has the biggest impact and brings the best ROI, the best return and value for customers.
Well, if we concentrate firstly on like the start of the company and growing it just before COVID, I guess. So the business, was it founded in 2015? Is that right?
Yeah. So we bootstrapped this company for a very long period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. How is that transition? How was the transition for you from like working a job, I guess, and then going into being a founder and being a business owner and having to manage everything and bring on team members and if you were bootstrapped at the time, managing cash, and you're basically thrown into everything. How did you find that transition?
So I think that the managing cash part wasn't a big problem when we were bootstrapping, because we didn't have that much cash to manage, so that was relatively straightforward. But on a serious note, of course, you're very resource constrained when you start something, and And we were very young when we started this company. We attracted a couple of early joiners and supporters, but there were never any real resources, so we didn't ever have the luxury of a lavish way of developing the product. So it was all about that deep conversation and deep engagement with the market, with the customers, being very agile in our mindset, pivoting, refining the product offering. That was very, very important. What I can say from the early days is that we've always had the ambition and the desire to build a full stack business. So to have not necessarily the capability of making our product in-house, but to have the capability of deeply understanding every single process and every single aspect of our product. As it progressed and evolved, we have the capability of actually making the product in-house. So that gives us a huge number of unique advantages. But again, going back to the early days, you don't have that luxury. You don't really have the resources. So you have to be very, very scrappy. You have to be very pragmatic and improvise and make things work with very little. I think the transition for me was to some extent natural. I mean, the type of jobs I've had in the past and where I've shaped my career was always a very dynamic environment. There was a lot of problem solving. If we look back at the motorsport days, even before I was in F1, I was working in various smaller teams. And it's just one continuous problem solving exercise. And this is what business is at the end of the day. It's just it's problem solving, finding new and creative ways of bringing the product to market, but more importantly, bringing value to your customers. So from that side, I can't say it was such a big thing. I did it, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. Even now, knowing how hard it was to get here, I wouldn't bat an eyelid. I would, if someone asked me, because I think a lot of the time you speak to different folks, and sometimes people might say, well, if I knew how hard it is, I probably wouldn't have done it. And I'm on the complete opposite of that. I'm like, I love hard. I love this impossible problem solving. So that's very exciting for me.
Yes. Yeah, it's they always say the come up's the best part. Especially now, like I guess maybe go through like what your day to day is now. I know the business has grown a lot and we'll get into that in a second, but what maybe like compare it then between like the start of it of what your day to day looked like then and then what you're focused on now.
So, so I think that the engagement is the same. Like I live and breathe this company, and us as founders, we're the same. We're incredibly involved in the day-to-day running of the operation. I don't know if you know the essays on founder mode, but we pretty much operate textbook like in founder mode, full on founder mode. So the way we structure, we have managed to achieve a huge amount for the size that we are as a company. And even when you look at the size that we are now, over 160, 70 people, we're still managing to achieve a disproportionately large amount of progress and disproportionately large amount of things considering the size. So the way we operate as founders, we're very deeply involved in the day-to-day. Each one of us has a C-level title. So I'm the CEO. Adrian, my co-founder, is the CTO, and Juana is the Chief Commercial Officer, the CCO. But we also operate at various VP and SVP levels. And to be honest, I think that's what makes it the most exciting, is that you actually get to be involved in bringing this product to market. So one of the big things that gets me out of bed personally is having the ability to work on a product that is unique in the world. No one else has this technology. No one else has the ability to bring this technology to market. So regardless of how hard the problems are that you need to solve, having this incredible opportunity to work on a career-defining product is something that beats all the hardness of it. So when you look at the day in the life of us as founders, or myself as founder CEO, I spend a lot of time with my teams. I spend a lot of time on problem solving on various electromechanical robotic components. Obviously, we have really good leaders and leadership in place. because there's only so many hours in the day, so you can only spend so much time on this. But then I also spend time on the strategic elements, so understanding where we can take the product, speaking to various customers, understanding what the market wants, and looking ahead as well. It's very important to. So it's very easy to get bogged into the day-to-day of a business, but it's very important to take that step back and look, okay, where do we need to be in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months time, especially in this day and age where you have so much progress and you have the opportunity to make so much progress in a very short amount of time. It's incredibly important to stay close to the market and to have that understanding and have that eye on the future. Where will this product need to be in 24 months time, and how do we keep impressing and delighting our customers when our technology becomes the standard, our technology becomes the norm. Every single warehouse in the world has Dexory View and they're using it as their operating system. How do we keep impressing our customers? How do we make sure that they end up loving us more and more every time they use the product and with every single day they spend on our platform?
Very good. I know we touched on before we started recording, and you mentioned it's rare for a business to be full stack. So I'm interested to know like the structure of that and how you mentioned at the start it wasn't that, but then you've turned it into exactly that. So what's been like, and you said there's some good advantages to that. Maybe talk us through the advantages to that and how you've managed to build that over the time period.
So when you look at the full stack business is a company that has complete control over their entire product stack. So in our case, the product that we're offering to the industry, to the logistics industry, is called Dexory View. It's a digital twin platform, so it's a global visibility and intelligence software platform. But what's really unique about it is that we use these autonomous robots to create digital twins of warehouses. So we use cameras and we use LiDARs and computer vision and other elements to create this digital twin, which is then becoming available in Dexory View. And then that's where we extract further insights and further actions and intelligence from the information we gather. So for a company like us, being full stack means you have the ability to have complete control over the engineering of the entire product, both the autonomous robotics platform, but also the software platform that is what customers tend to interact with. It means that we have the ability to build this product, to continuously improve this product in-house. So if you see the facility we have here, it's got a number of different units, but we have the engineering, we have the prototyping, we have the R&D, continuous improvement, continuous development. We also have a very, very high performance machining center. So we have multi-axis machining capabilities. We have a very, very comprehensive electronics development and testing facility. And we have our own production and testing environments. So we actually manufacture the robots in-house. We can then use them in our own warehouses. So we collect the information, we then test our software platform. So it's very comprehensive, it's end to end. But of course, this needs to extend to our customers. So the other side of B2B full stack means we work directly with customers. So customers have the best experience with the product. We make sure that we maximize the impact and the value that we bring to them. So we will go and install the technology on their site. We will then go and support and service the technology as needed, make sure that it is tailored and is best catering for their needs. So it's quite a broad operation. I think these are some of the big advantages, like I was saying, the speed at which you can react, the speed at which you can bring improvements to the product, the speed at which you can shift lanes and change priorities. If you decide that you want to put a higher priority on a specific set of features, you're not really depending on anyone else's development times. But when you look at an operation of this level of complexity, there's probably the biggest downside is the level of complexity. It's incredibly expensive to build something like this, because you can imagine you have a huge range of technological disciplines, you have a huge range of product disciplines, development, software integrations, you name it, we probably have it. But like I said, it gives us this incredible speed of movement and this nimbleness to not just bring a new product to market, but make sure that the product we brought to market best answers the customer's need and really solves their problems.
Very good. And you mentioned expensive. Then I know last year you did a round of got some funding, so I want to touch on that in a little bit. Before that, I want to know, obviously coming from a B2B lead generation background myself, I want to know the growth and how the growth happened. And what were the main drivers of that? Were you going out? Were you doing outbound? Were you, I don't know, some marketing? Yeah, how you've marketed the problem, how the product, yeah, and how that growth's come about, really.
So when we first started exploring the segment, and we kind of started exploring the problem that we could solve for customers, there wasn't really a market space about logistics intelligence and visibility and real-time information. So we didn't just set out to bring a new product to market, but we also defined our market category. So as you can imagine, in order to do that successfully, you need to do a lot of market education. That there's a huge amount of people. The industry is massive. There's a lot of people that have the problem, but there's also a lot of people that don't really know how to pinpoint to the problem and how to best find it. So a lot of the early work we did was, on one side, outbound. We reached out to customers. We obviously did a lot of digging through our own networks to see who has connections, who has information, and who has knowledge about supply chain and about warehousing. We did quite a lot of thought leadership pieces to make sure that people understand what this technology can do for them and how this technology can solve their problem. And then as we had the early adopter customers, we made sure to have interviews with them, to have case studies, to make sure that on one hand they're happy with the technology, but on the other hand they're speaking about the technology with the wider market. So those were some of the initial efforts that we kind of over-indexed on. We didn't do a huge amount of ads or anything like that because you can spend on advertising, but when everything you do is new, it's more important to spend on market education and positioning yourself as that leader in the space than trying to make an ad for something that people would look at and say, don't really get it. So.
Yeah. That's a couple of conversations I've had is bringing out a new product where you don't have any competitors is like both really, really good because nobody's competing with you, but also you have to go and educate people like why they even need you, like why you exist and why they should buy from you. So it's both like a really good thing to have, but also can be difficult at the same time. So yeah, but the easiest thing to do, and a lot of businesses miss it, is talk to your target market. Like, what do they want? How do they want to position it? Because I'm sure you could have positioned it in multiple different ways, but by actually speaking to who you're wanting to sell to, you can then sort of get a picture for how they want it positioning into their business.
So 100%, I think that's very, very true and valid. I think the important bit there, when you bring something truly novel to the market and it's really a new product, I think it's important to be able to paint the picture for your customers and to guide them along this development path, because what you have now, the product offering now, is never going to be perfect. It would be incredibly arrogant to claim that you know everything there is to know about the market, right? So you speak to them, you guide them along that journey, and you also show them what will be possible further down the line, especially when you look at things like AI and how this is leveraging data and how this is transforming the industry. Having the ability to take that customer on the journey, having that storytelling capabilities to explain, okay, this is what we can do now, but in 6 months' time, in 12 months' time, when we're going to have hundreds of millions of pallets scanned and hundreds of millions of points from various digital twins, we're going to be able to give you as our customers an incredible set of insights, or we're going to be able to tell you things that you didn't even thought they were possible. Like when we first did demos of this technology, people were coming into our showroom, and they thought they were being very, very honest, telling us that they never ever thought this was going to be possible to get this much information at this speed at which we can actually collect the data. And of course, that's flattering, but it also kind of highlights the fact that, like you're saying, the positioning is very, very important early on.
So you've had a couple of rounds of funding. You mentioned earlier that it's expensive to run when you're doing absolutely everything. At what point do you start? I guess the reason for it is because it's expensive, and you need that money to develop, I guess, as a business. What is the process of that like, and what's the decision-making process behind like how much you need to raise, and how do you go about getting that funded in that first phase?
Yeah, so there's a couple of questions in there, but I think the important bit is to take that step back and to understand what is the big picture, what's the vision that you have for the business. You're never gonna know every single bit and every single challenge that you're gonna face along the way, but it's important to understand if you're building a company that will require 1 million in funding, 10 million in funding, 100 million, or $1 billion in funding to be able to reach the ambition you have for that business. I think it's also very, very important to take that step back and understand what is the ambition for growth of the company. Do you want to build a company that can operate and be very powerful in one specific country, in one territory? Do you want to build something global? And even go beyond that, do you want to build something that can transform the industry, or is providing some value in creating something that takes 25, 30, 40% of the industry going to be good enough? So for us, from the beginning, the ambition was huge. I don't want to stop at any point the growth that we have for this company. I feel we have such a big market opportunity. We have such an opportunity to drive so much impact into the industry that it really has the potential to reshape the way we run our supply chains at the global level, the way we move things around. It's the most important industry we have. You can have all the money in the world if you, for example, can't get the right raw materials to create the right medicine. You're not going to be able to use that money to magically create medicine out of it.
Yeah.
So moving things around, and we've seen this during the pandemic, moving things around is the biggest and most important industry we have at this point in time. So for us, when we were looking at building Dexory, we said we don't just want to build a huge global company. We want to be able to bring a product, bring a technology into the market that will transform the industry. So from that point of view, we wanted to have the right level of financial support, the right level of understanding, and the right level of knowledge around us. So it's very important how you choose your investors, because investors are also split in these categories. There are people that want to invest in small businesses and have a quick return, and there are people that have the patience to go along that journey and want to be part of something that's going to be much, much bigger than them and going to transcend generations and shape the future for the better. So we were partly we were very lucky, and partly we were able to choose the right investors to go on this journey with us. And we've raised, the way we staged the raises was also based on proving proving the traction, proving the performance that we can build into the company, because investors are obviously institutional entities. They want to make returns on their investment. We have to be very pragmatic here. At the end of the day, it is what it is. It's a commercial company that needs to make progress. So I don't think anyone should be demoralized and think, oh, I want to raise $300 million from day one. there are some of these huge rounds, but they're outliers. So I think you have to have a little bit of patience, and I really struggle at the patience domain, trust me. But you have to have a little bit of patience and actually stage it and raise some money, be able to prove, be able to grow, be able to expand, and that will attract additional capital in the future to be able to do more. And like I said, that what to do more means is very different based on where you can and where you want to take your own business, your own company.
Do you so you've done a few rounds now? Do you plan those out? Do you say, right, we're gonna in 2020 we're gonna do this, and then if we're at this stage, then we in 2 years' time we can do this, and then in a few years' time we can do this? Or is it very much a let's get this first, see where it goes. If we need to go again, then we will.
So I think that also depends on the type of business you're looking to build. There are companies that can raise a couple of million and then become profitable or self-sufficient, or they don't want to invest in product improvements. So we're not that company. We, like I was telling you, we want to build this business into a global powerhouse, but also we want to create something that's transformative for the future, for future generations. So the way we approached fundraising, we said, okay, we wanted to raise money as we were bootstrapping. We leveraged public funding, we leveraged grants to be able to actually prove those initial concepts. But then as things got serious and as we needed more capital to accelerate, the problem with grants is that the timelines and the timing that they come with doesn't really work for a high growth company. So we got additional VC investment. We could prove a couple of things, but more importantly, we had the right traction, we had the right market pull. So for us, raising additional funding was based on the opportunity we had. So yes, we could prove that we are executing really well, we are very efficient, we're very fast, but there's so much market pull and there's so much opportunity that it makes sense to raise additional capital. It makes sense to raise more money in order to accelerate product development, in order to accelerate market introduction, in order to accelerate global expansion. So that's the mindset and that's the approach, and that's what we're going to be carrying forwards with us as well. Like, we are now in a position where we have so much data, we have so much information about how the product needs to shape the industry. The next funding round we're going to be doing is going to be all about moving faster, being able to go 10x or 100x faster into bringing these products into the market and into scaling our market reach and global expansion.
Very good. Let's look at the future then. We can go wherever we want on this. I'm sure there's a lot of things that we could cover, especially with it sounds like the AI stuff has been going on for you guys for a long time, a lot longer than sort of like it coming into the public knowledge. What's next, either for the business, for the industry? I know you've got some thoughts on well, I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on that kind of things, but yeah, what's next for you in the industry?
So I think at the moment the industry is in a really interesting place, because on one hand, when we were going through all the challenges the pandemic brought with it, we as an industry we realized, okay, it's the right time to accelerate adoption of new technology. So logistics wasn't the early adopter of technology historically. A little bit more conventional as an industry, but I think it's definitely changed over the past couple of years. This brought a lot of new ways of doing things, new processes and new ways of operating. But I think where we are now, we're in a space where we can actually generate a lot of data. We can gather and collect a lot of this information and transform this into insights, transform this into even better and faster ways of running the operations. But more importantly, we're making that transition as an industry to a data-driven industry, to an industry which becomes reliant on digital infrastructure. So as you can imagine, warehouses, racking, pallets, all that stuff's been around for tens of years. Now the industry is making this shift to leveraging digital infrastructure, and where we are positioned as a company, where Dexory is positioned with Dexory View, is we're this foundational infrastructure provider. So a digital twin of your operation, of your facility, means that you have complete visibility over everything that's going on in there. But if you have 10 or 100 locations and you deploy this technology across all of them, you suddenly have the ability to exponentially enhance your capabilities. So if you have 1, 2 locations that are operating with 90, 99, 100% efficiency, all of a sudden you can pretty much look across the entire estate. You can copy and paste this intelligence. You can enhance every single bit, every single area of how you're doing business. And I think this is very, very important. This is where AI comes into play for us. It gives us the ability to dig really, really deep into the data sets. It gives us the ability to extract information that we don't even know we can extract now, and create insights and create and derive learnings that we never thought were possible before. And I think for the industry, what this means is that you can operate that business unit in the best possible way with the resources you have now, but it is also gonna allow you to future-proof that business unit. You're gonna be able to operate for an extended period of time and be able to actually bring the level of processing in that allows you and enables you to do more with less. So you have this set warehouse, you have the set parameters of the business. Now, if you can then push the way you do things to a completely different level, it means you can suddenly have new avenues for revenue. You can have new opportunities in the way you run the business. And I think this is going back to AI. This is where AI becomes really powerful. It's giving us this ability to go over huge amounts of data, very broad data sets. It's giving us the ability to create this very exciting application of AI, which is AI agents, to be able to do work as experts in specific areas and specific problems that you're looking to solve, to really make sure that you can supercharge the existing workforce. You can give people the ability to do things that were simply impossible 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, and I think a key thing, especially when handling data, is speed, the speed that it can do it at. So I guess like projects, I don't know how you work it, but projects are now like the time taken to do things is just like absolutely nothing. So people can move faster, and that means things get more efficient, and that would probably mean more profits and stuff into the people that you're working with as well.
But I think it's not just that. It's creating a better work environment as well. It's creating an environment where you don't have to be running around nonstop. You can actually generate an AI agent and say, look, I need to solve this problem in this part of the warehouse. You can go and look over the data. You can go and look over the external factors, what's coming into play here. And then in that period of time, you go into something else, you come back to it in half an hour, and then there's results, there's work you can analyze, there's ideas you can brainstorm, and then you can set another task to that specific AI agent. I think we're seeing this with our customers as well. You know, people are spending so much time on the platform, so much time in Dexory Review, because it massively accelerates the way they're doing their jobs, and it has a massive impact on the processes they have, making their jobs a lot easier. So it's not necessarily about being able to leverage these resources and obviously have better profits, but it's also being able to create a much better environment and shifting the focus from running around the warehouse trying to get the information, to do the problem solving, into more of a data analyst approach, where you're actually thinking about the problem and new ways of solving it, rather than struggling to collect the information, actually get to the root cause of it.
Very good. It'll be interesting to do this again in a year and see where the business is at then, so we can leave some stuff for there. Yeah. But it's like it's clear to see, like, and I probably will keep this in. It's clear to see like how involved you are in the day to day, because you can get to a point where you've got millions of pounds or dollars in funding, and you start to see founders sort of try and get out of the day to day and not really know anything that's going on inside of the business. But it's clear to see that you're in there and you know and you're very knowledgeable about this.
Oh man, I
And I'm
don't believe
sure.
in that. If you look at, but honestly, like you look at all the big companies out there, um, and it's not just in the tech world, in anywhere. Like you look at people that have built big businesses. It doesn't have to be $1 trillion company. It could be, it could be turning over hundreds of millions. And if you're not involved, if you're not living and breathing that company, you're not gonna. You might build a successful company, but you're not gonna reach that level of success that is actually on the table. And you see this also in sports. You don't see. I think this is a good example. You don't see a football coach kind of coaching from somewhere in a room
Yeah.
completely detached. No, they're there with the team, right? And I think this is really, really important. Is that proximity to the team to help them, to unblock them, to you're gonna get people that know a lot more about specialized subjects than you, but you can always help with the decision making, with unblocking, with making sure that you streamline the processes so they can then focus on where they thrive and where they excel. So I think I totally agree with what you're saying. I just don't believe that if you are to build a huge company, and it's probably the wrong mindset for a founder.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, look, we are running out of time, so if people have liked the sound of the things that you've said and want to learn more, where can they find you and where can they find the business?
So you can find us obviously on through our website dexory.com, and I'm easily available through LinkedIn. So that's probably the easiest way to reach out.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll post all the links in the description. So if you want to check them out, then do so. Andre, it's been really really interesting. An industry that I've not gone into too much, especially on the podcast. So it's been really interesting. So thank you for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot for having me, Tom.